At last, the Liberals have ditched net zero by 2050. Thank goodness. They never should have signed up to it, of course, in the first place. The pledge came out of the blue from Scott Morrison just 4 years ago, and the coalition has taken it to 2 elections with disastrous effect, while Labor's pursuit of net zero has pushed power prices up by $1,000 a year when they promised to bring them down by $275.
Australians deserve affordable energy and responsible emissions reduction. And the Liberal Party believes we can do both. But affordable energy must come first.
Spot on. Now, let me tell you what to expect in the coming days and weeks. Much of the media will tell you this puts the coalition on the back foot. They'll say it spells political strife for the coalition because people in the cities want net zero. Many politicians, Labor, the Greens and the Teals, they'll all say the same. They wish it was so, because the real impact of the policy switch is much more prospective than all that. Now, sure, even some moderate Liberals and their supporters will be worried. They'll be seeing this at best as an attempt to remove a barnacle, and they'll try to move on to other issues. But they are wrong. This must be the opposite approach. The coalition now needs to make this their main issue, their main cause. This issue is not only this policy switch that the country needs, it's the political battle where the coalition can turn the tide on the unholy alliance between Labor and the Greens and the Teals and the ABC and the other leftist media and the corporate do-gooders too.
You are paying too much for your power, and it's not okay. Labor went to 2 elections promising you that they would deliver cheaper electricity. And instead, power bills are going up 40%, and that's not okay.
Yeah, the coalition needs to go on the attack over this today, tomorrow and every day until the next election, because energy costs are the cost of living. Energy costs are the future of the economy. Energy costs are the key to jobs, investment, improved living standards, reducing government debt and making government affordable again. And energy costs are also central to building national security as we construct the armed forces we need to defend our country. So this is not a niche issue. This is front and centre. And along the way, it is the perfect policy argument to unmask the political green left, to expose their lies and deceptions. For instance, have a look at this from the Climate Council today. They've already called the Liberal decision a disaster for the climate, and they claim it will lead to more fires, floods and heat waves. This is arrant nonsense, blatant lies, and it's time the coalition started taking this stuff head on. We asked the Climate Council onto the program for an interview, but of course they declined. They would, of course, decline. Their stuff is laughable and it's maliciously misleading. They must know that Australian policies and actions on their own cannot have any effect on the climate. They know that global emissions are increasing regardless of whatever tinkering Australia does with its 1% share of global emissions. And the Climate Council also knows that the coalition says it will reduce emissions, like it did last time it was in power and like Labor is struggling to do now, which is why the coalition says it can stay in the Paris Agreement at the same time it scraps the net zero by 2050 pledge.
This is constantly evolving because look at what countries are doing now under the Paris Agreement with their NDCs. They're submitting NDCs that they probably know they can never keep. What we are doing is being honest with the Australian people. You have a government that has promised you 2 things that it has not delivered: affordable energy and reducing emissions, and it hasn't done either.
This is not only a great argument for the coalition to have, it's the debate the country needs. It's the most important policy area for our future prosperity or otherwise. And if you think Labor, the Greens and the Teals really believe this is a problem for the coalition, then look at how their actions betray their real feelings. The Prime Minister went out this morning ahead of the Liberal announcement, using yesterday's news about a new treaty negotiation with Indonesia as a pretext for having a crack at the opposition.
And while I was with President Prabowo, of course, focused on delivering for Australians and delivering on our national interest, the Liberals were conducting the first of 4 meetings in Canberra focused on themselves and each other. The Coalition are choosing to take Australia backwards.
Albanese even tried to stir the partisan pot by referring to yesterday's group of leading Conservatives entering to the Liberal Party meeting together.
This was a sign of opposition to Susan Lay's leadership, and it was a rather extraordinary moment. And the pictures was very deliberate for people to gather beforehand in formation, in order to send that message, and that message was surely received, not so much by the party room, because that's a matter for them, their clown show that they've become. It was a sign of for the Australian people of how divided they are.
Clown show from the nation's leader. This was a pretty unedifying effort, playing politics like a state opposition leader rather than a Prime Minister. It was a reminder of what drives Albanese in politics.
I like fighting Tories. That's what I do. That's what I do.
Yeah, that's what he does. But the response also showed how worried he is about this climate and energy policy debate. It's got him flapping about already.
They're walking away from climate action because they fundamentally do not believe in the science in climate change.
That's just not true. He knows it's not true. It's made up. As we've seen, the Coalition still will reduce emissions where possible. And if Albo wants to stick to the science, then he needs to admit that Australia's actions cannot change the climate anyway. Albanese's climate rhetoric doesn't align with any sensible authority. It aligns with the Greens.
I just shake my head at what is coming out of the Liberal Party today. And this is a party that clearly denies the science of climate change, doesn't care about the future and the protection of our environment for future generations.
Pick the difference between Albanese and the Greens. And from the Albanese Labor Party and from the Greens, there's the same lies about renewables and costs that we've heard endlessly now for years.
What we know is that renewables are the cheapest form of energy. We're making sure that we back that up with batteries and with gas as well for firming capacity. And that is the way to deliver the path that Australia needs.
Again, this is patently untrue. That's why power prices are at record highs and still increasing. The opposite to what Labor promised, even though Albanese and his Minister Chris Bowen have had 4 years of pushing renewables. Energy expert Aidan Morrison told us last night what to expect under the Labor, Greens and Teal's plan.
At the moment, we've tried the renewable energy rollout experiment and it's stalled totally, completely. There is just no new private money that is pushing into renewable energy because the honeymoon has ended. We're now at the point we have to build the expensive stuff, all the things to keep the grid stable, all the storage to move the energy around the clock, around the calendar, around the country. So renewable energy gets more expensive from here onwards. It always will do.
Yeah, Susan Lee might well have her internal critics and problems, and the Coalition might well need to lift their game on selling and advocating their policies. But more gas-fired generation and keeping coal-fired generators going longer will be crucial, at least until nuclear can provide emissions-free baseload power. And we need to put the brakes on the renewables rollout before the country's overburdened by transmission lines and their ongoing costs. This is not only the right policy choice for the coalition, this is the policy choice the country desperately needs. After a decade of national energy self-harm, we deserve to have a viable alternative.